Merry Christmas, lizards! Welcome to my video. This is going to be a spoiler-free review of the first 3 seasons of The Bear. And yes, I do realize we are getting season 4 supposedly in just months from now. There's been too many shows where they said there was going to be more seasons and then there weren't, so from now on I'm doing these. This isn't even the first of time that I've started doing spoiler-free reviews before the entire show has supposedly aired. Now, yeah, the 2021 movie The Menu is very much making at least some fine dine kitchens look like a cult. This show, well, you know, honestly, an argument could be made that it has drunk the Kool-Aid, is serving it to us, but you know what? It makes that Kool-Aid and everything else that's at all edible or drink on the show look absolutely delicious. The show's edited really well. You know, yeah, better, strong sense of, let's see, a place of character. Every character feels like a real person. Their interpersonal relationships feel real. You can feel there's a lot of history between certain characters. The pace is very intense. It's a very stressful show, very quick cut. The camera's often close to characters, moving fast between them and what they're dealing with. A lot of scenes in the kitchen where things like the oven, for example, aren't always working. The people don't agree on how to deal with it. And the shots of the outside of the city are amazing. Gorgeous. The lighting is spectacular. There's a lot of strong language. Right, there might be in this video as well. The show is rated TVMA. Some characters like Richie are casually bigoted. There's always some new problem they have to deal with. A lot of shouting. It is a show with empathy for service workers. It is more drama than comedy, like 70 to 90% drama, but when it's funny, it's hilarious. And let's see, it's more diverse than you might think and isn't only about the struggles of straight white cis men. It does explore wounded masculinity rather well. I think it would have been more compelling if the protagonist was a woman, perhaps a woman of color. Maybe she's also trans. They could get into the pressures of the job and the expectations, but then also deal with racism, misogyny, and transphobia instead of centering yet another story on a white guy. But you know, racism and misogyny kill and destroy the lives of so many. I really think we should center our media on criticizing, you know, these issues over exploring white male pain. People who want that kind of media can just go back and watch the hundreds of thousands of movies and TV show episodes about that. With that said, we do definitely really empathize with the white guys. And the character Richie first met Carmi when the latter was just the annoying 5-year-old younger brother of Mike, and in his mind, that's what age and level of competency he's still on. Some people dislike that the show starts with a lot to pick up on and follow developments of. To me, it's perfect. It kind of feels like real life, like they just took a camera and filmed something real instead of fiction and none of that reality television fucking bullshit either. Yeah, it's difficult to keep up with. The show isn't for everyone. In part about how some people who definitely have too much baggage and short tempers to be working together, but how can you fire a family member? Even if Richie, at least at times, is quite the fuck up. Even if Nat is not in the best place to help. Even if Carm is perhaps out of his element. Honestly, the parts where they criticize millennials and say, oh, they just don't have work ethic, feel right out of the Babylon Bee, defending Elon Musk, firing a bunch of hardworking, talented people that he needed to keep working at Twitter, or X, or whatever the fuck he's calling it these days. And let's see. I think that might be more or less. Yeah, right, depending on which review you read, this show is either just like Chicago IRL or nothing like Chicago IRL. And yeah, I think Right, and yeah, some Chicagoans have ripped the show for setting the shop in the fancy River North neighborhood and implying that it's a crime-ridden neighborhood, which, like, wow. How do you fuck that up? And yeah, there's more than one episode where they film the entire episode to make it look like it is shot in a single take. Now, it almost definitely is stitched together, at least one of them, but it is really impressive and yeah, incredibly intense. Yeah, there's some nice little aspects of characters that I thought were quite well done. You have this issue of Richie feels like he can't ask for help, or it would make him weak. So sometimes he fucks something up just because he refuses to ask for help, even though he is in a situation where it's completely okay to ask for help. He also he's recovering from couples counseling, and he will use the stuff he learnt there in the middle of an argument in an incredibly condescending and unfucking believably annoying, irritating, obnoxious way, and it's incredibly funny. Yeah, as you can tell, I don't have very many negative things to say here. I know some people think it's negative that the show is very stressful. It's one of those things, like, I need to think of a term for this instead of, but for now, the following, it's something that I appreciate some people would think of as criticism, and I think it's good to know before you dive into this piece of media, before you devote any time or money to it. This show definitely is, like, there are some people who are going to watch even just a little of the show and have a panic attack. And that's not a diss on them or the show. That's something crucial to know before you start watching. Personally, I loved it. It's, yeah, a lot of the show doesn't really let up. And when there are quieter moments, you feel like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's like a flashback, and it's like, oh, things used to actually be pretty good. So yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. Like, there's people who share my taste in media that I'm not recommending this show because they have a lot of things in their lives that cause stress already, and this would just be yeah, like, if you watch media to relax, skip this one entirely. There's nothing here for you, and that sucks, but that is how it is. And yeah, at the end of the day, like, the show is trying to convey how stressful this situation is. I think that might more or less, yeah, phenomenal acting all across the board. I really, really have to see something else that Jeremy Allen White appears in, because he really impressed me here. Like, a couple of the other major cast I did already know, yeah, it's not a huge surprise that people like Oliver Platt and John Bernthal are amazing. And yeah, actually right now I forget if I'd seen, no, I believe I had watched Punisher, so I knew Eben Moss-Backrack before I started watching this show. Yeah, he's excellent in both. Can hardly wait for Fantastic Four. So glad to be looking forward to a Fantastic Four movie. Never thought that would happen. And right, Ayo Edebiri, phenomenal as well. Abby Elliott. Yeah, I'm gonna stop before I just, okay, one more. Lisa Colon-Zayas. Fantastic, like, just incredible talent. That is one thing I will say. The main, like, the staff of the Bear, the restaurant, the place that they, there are at least 2 of the staff members that even 3 seasons in, I feel like haven't gotten that much screen time or development. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they could have given them some time. There are a couple of characters here who get a lot of screen time and development. And I'm not saying everybody could or should get the equal amount, and I do appreciate that some of the ones who get a lot are, minorities. The character of Sydney, for example, a young black woman, yeah, there's a good amount of stuff for her. But yeah, some of them don't get much of any, and there were episodes where I was like, this time could have been devoted to that other one. And it kind of feels like there may be like, oh, well, this is a fan favorite, so we got to give that character more time. And that also brings me to one other thing that I will say I'm holding off on whether or not it's criticism, because they might, there's more show coming, but there are definitely times where not that much development happens, perhaps especially of like plot. And yeah, some people really hated this. It's not over yet. There's a chance that they can, address it, because I don't think the time was wasted. Some of the time was spent on characters where I felt like, okay, we've gotten so much with these characters, but I don't think it was wasted. And yeah, when it's not plot, it's themes, it's relationships, and these are also important to the show, which again, I do appreciate very early on, it is very plot-centered, and I think that's part of why some people were frustrated that, over the course of these 3 seasons, some of it, they didn't focus as much on plot. I personally think you have to grow and develop these things. If they just keep doing the same thing over and over for long enough time, we're going to tire of it before the show is over. But yeah, I think people, and there are so many shows out there that are extremely plot-centric, so, you can watch one of those instead if you just don't. These 3 seasons largely function as like 3 chapters of a story, so if you watch the first season and you're like, not my cup of tea, yeah, you don't really have to keep watching it. It doesn't end on this massive cliffhanger that you just have to see resolved. It concludes the story of the first season, and so does the second season, and in some respects the third season as well. Yeah, I think that's absolutely everything that I have to say. So yeah, it is possible that I'll do another review about season 4. I forget if there is a season 5 coming, but yeah. And it's also possible I won't. It depends on if I feel like I have a lot new to say about upcoming seasons. But yeah, I hope this helped you determine if this is your kind of thing. And yeah, I rate this 8 unbelievably frustrating couples counseling terms and concepts dropped in the middle of a heated argument by Richie out of 10.